upon our history reconnaissance. This is the US-China Marines, the United States Marines Expeditionary Force in China in the 1920s. And please, like, share and subscribe, it means a lot to us. After the Chinese Revolution in 1911, the US reinforced its garrisons in China. A battalion-sized Marine Legation Guard at Beijing and an infantry regiment at Tianjin. Elements of the US Asiatic Fleet frequented Chinese ports, and patrols on the China River were established. China in the 1920s was a country, but hardly a nation. It was a jigsaw of regions and territories. In 1927, the 10-year Civil War broke out. The participants were warlords, communists, and Kuomintang, fighting each other and within themselves. They fought with armored trains, rifles, swords and spears. March 1927, the US sent the 3rd Marine Brigade to help protect international settlement in Shanghai. The 4th Marine Regiment remained at Shanghai while the rest of the brigade marched to Tianjin, where they stayed until January 1929. From 1927 to 1929, Smedley Butler commanded the China Marines in Tianjin, spending much of his time successfully negotiating with Chinese generals and warlords. On his return to the US in 1929, he was promoted to Major General. Then at 48, the youngest Major General of the Marine Corps. The mission of the Marines was to protect the lives, property and commerce of American citizens in the international settlement of Shanghai. The international settlement was an enclave for foreigners, also made up of British, Japanese, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese and Dutch communities. Chinese sovereignty was in theory intact, but in practice the settlements were self-governing and needed independent protection. There were 45,000 foreigners in the international settlements, and another 16,000 in the nearby French concession. By the end of the decade, it was a good time for the Marines in China. The servicemen had their own club with bars, a bowling alley, theater, restaurant, library and ballroom. But these happy days was not to last. In 1931, the Japanese army invaded Manchuria. Then the Chinese retaliated, and fighting broke out between Japanese troops guarding their settlement in Shanghai and Chinese troops at Taipei, the district north of the international settlement. The China Marines sprang into action, maintaining a defensive perimeter and protecting the settlements. In 1932, The 31st U.S. Infantry Regiment joined the 4th Marines in Shanghai. Then, relative peace returned, and for the next 5 years the China Marines could continue their rather comfortable lifestyle. The 6th Marines reinforced the city in 1937. In December 1937, a Japanese air attack sank the US gunboat Panay in the Chang River. In 1938, the 6th Marines and the 15th US Infantry departed China. During World War II, the 4th Marines left Shanghai for the Philippines in November 1941 and were eventually captured at Corregidor. More on the events at Corregidor in another of our videos. Link in the description box below. The Marines in Shanghai were evacuated on the liners President Harrison and the President Madison. They had just finished the evacuation in Manila on December 4, 1941, when orders came to head north to evacuate the remaining Marines in the Beijing area. On December 8, 1941, the day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the President Harrison was attacked by Japanese aircraft and a destroyer. The ship was grounded by the captain trying to sink the ship. The crew and officers was taken prisoners and sent to prison camps where they suffered tremendously and many died. The 203 Marine Guards at Beijing, Tianjin and Qinghuangtao could only surrender surrounded by superior Japanese forces and also suffered the same fate as prisoners of war.
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.